the first episode of Ser Mamá in English. So I appreciate your patience, and I want to say thank you to all the moms that have wrote me and said, I would love to watch the show, but it's only in Spanish and I do speak English. So for my Spanish audience that is bilingual, this works perfect. And for my moms that follow me and they don't speak Spanish, this is for you. And I'm super excited because for the first time in this show, I'm gonna have a doula. And that's super important and super interesting, but she's not only a doula. Her name is Ashley Harrison. She's a childbirth photographer and she lives in Toronto. So she's gonna tell us a little bit about her experience of being a mom, also how and why did she became a doula.
Yeah, so I am a doula, a birth photographer, and a childbirth educator in Toronto, and actually kind of the greater Toronto area. I travel all over. And I support families from pregnancy all the way to postpartum, and I also document their journeys. And then a big part of what I do is also education, because that's a really important piece to having an empowering birth experience.
So I would love for you to share with the audience, because did you always wanted to be like a doula or like a childbirth photographer? Or this is more like a thing that it became like your permanent job because you had an experience and you just wanted to make an impact in the world?
Yeah, so I had always had an interest in pregnancy and birth. And unfortunately, when we had our first daughter, we lost her shortly after birth. And so I got pregnant really quickly after, and we had our subsequent daughter a year and 2 days to the death of our first daughter. And that whole experience kind of propelled me into pursuing a career as a doula, supporting families, especially through subsequent pregnancies and through loss. Loss is unfortunately far more common we like to think it is. I mean, we think that 25% of pregnancies end in loss, and that's a huge number. And it really doesn't matter what trimester or what week you lose your baby, it's still a devastating experience. And I don't think that we give it enough emphasis, and we don't give those birth people enough support. So that's kind of why I jumped into this. It was through my own experience.
I think you're a very brave woman, because you took your grief, you took that pain, and you turned it into something super positive, and you thought about all the other women that you could change literally their lives and their experience with welcoming a child. Because I know that you said that because of that experience and because of what you have learned and what do you do now, there is so many women that can have, a wonderful experience in childbirth. So I would love for you to tell me a little bit about your second pregnancy and your third pregnancy, because I know that you had to have that grief process, and then it wasn't quickly for you to get pregnant again. Well, a year and 2 days ago, it's kind of like a blessing, but I'm sure that it was also like a very conscious decision that you and your husband took.
Yeah, I was a bit of a hot mess. I don't recommend to everybody to get pregnant so soon after such a devastating loss. That pregnancy, my second pregnancy, was just such a hard time. You're grieving, and then you're also in a place where you're worried about everything. And I mean, even with a quote unquote normal pregnancy, right? You're worried constantly about hurting the baby or about losing the baby. And these are really common thoughts that I hear from women. And so just compound that by like 10. And that was kind of what I was going through with my second pregnancy. Then we got pregnant 2.5 years later, and it was a completely different experience. So first I opted for a cesarean with my second because I didn't feel like I could go through another birth so soon after losing our daughter. And so I had kind of that to contend with as well. And I did a lot of work when I was pregnant with my third, my son, to kind of get into the right headspace to be able to have a successful, empowering, beautiful, gentle birth. And so, yeah, we did it. It wasn't exactly it didn't exactly turn out the way that we wanted it to, which is just the way birth is. But it was everything that I could have wanted from a birth experience.
I would love for you to tell everybody that may not know what is a doula and what is so important what you're right now doing, and also a childbirth educator. That word is, for me, it's very powerful because literally we know nothing, and as you said, every woman experiences a different childbirth. So what are the common things that you can, like the common grounds that you can come up with these women so they can have the experience that they want, even though it's not going to be exactly as they are planning?
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed it won't go exactly as planned. That's what's so great about birth, right? Yeah, so a doula is somebody that will support you throughout your pregnancy. They'll be by your side at your birth, continuous support. They're providing physical support, educational and informational support, and emotional support. They don't replace the partner. What they do is they help the partner support the birther. And we can step in and we can, if there's any decisions that have to be made, we can help that family make those decisions, whatever is best for them. We don't hold any bias. We don't try and push an agenda at any time. And a big piece of that is in the prenatal period. We do a lot of education on what you can expect from, if you're having a hospital birth, what you can expect from that experience, or what you can expect having a midwife or a home birth. And we just go through kind of crafting like how you want your birth to be, and then how we can kind of facilitate that process the whole way through. And then we're at your birth. From the moment you call us to a couple hours postpartum, doing comfort measures with you, providing information, and then supporting your partner too. That's also a really big part of what we do, is we support the partner because they also need the support. In fact, I hired a doula with my third, and I entirely 100% as a doula, I hired a doula for my husband. My doula was more for my husband than she was for me, because I knew that having somebody there for him was going to take a lot of pressure off of me, and he could just focus on, comforting me and keeping me comfortable, as opposed to worrying about everything else that was going on. And there was a lot of stuff that happened in our birth that, I certainly wouldn't have had the wherewithal to explain to him as it was happening, even though I knew what was going on. So it was really nice that she was there to kind of step in.
So if I had to choose a word for a doula, I will say 100% support, And I love it because it's not only for the woman but also for the partner. And I think that it's so great that you are able, even though you are a doula, right? You were able to hire a doula for your husband. So for the husbands out there, they need to start learning all these things, especially if they are gonna become parents or they're gonna be fathers. And I think that's wonderful. I will also love for you to tell me a little bit about your experience now as a mom. And I always ask this to all my guests. Are you similar to your mom or the moms in your family? Are you kind of a mixture, or are you completely different?
I think my mother and I are similar in a lot of ways and not similar in a lot of ways. I mean, being a parent has been really eye-opening. I can think back to parts of my childhood where I didn't understand why my mother was the way she was, in terms of being just a little bit maybe frazzled. And now I totally get that. I mean, there are days that are so hard, and it's all nice on social media, right? Today was a bit of a challenging day here, and there was a time just maybe 2 hours ago I said, I don't really want to mom today. I just want to go somewhere by myself and just take a couple hours to myself, but that's not possible. So anyway, so what I've taken from my mother is having a really open attitude about who my kids are, what they want to do, who they want to be. She's very accommodating. She's very open to, wanted. I mean, she always supported us, even if she didn't necessarily agree. And there were a lot of times that she didn't agree. I know there were a lot of times she didn't agree, but she always supported us. And I think that that is something that I've taken from my relationship with my mother, that support is so important. And I want to be there for my kids no matter what they decide, even if it's not what I personally would do.
You know, I want to thank you because it is true. Out there in social media, and I'm guilty myself, we only post what is beautiful about motherhood. And of course, that's what it's so wonderful, right? But it's true that there are days where we're like, oh my God, can you please just disappear? And then after that, we feel the guilt, right? Like, oh my God, how did I think that? Or why did I say that? But it's because it's true. Being a mother can be overwhelming. And even though we can have a support system and also a great partner, sometimes it's tough. And for that, I really, really thank you. And I would love for you to also tell me how, because going back to your story, I'm sure that losing your first child was also hard for your husband. And since you are a doula and you're experienced and you know about this childbirth education, how did you both work on that?
Yeah, it's hard when, you know, my partner is male, and we as women grieve we grieve a lot differently than men do. And unfortunately, he saw a lot of what happened after the birth that I didn't see. So I have no doubt that there was some trauma there, and he's probably going to hate me for saying that, but I genuinely believe it's true. The one thing that I got from that whole experience, though, was that we really came together as a couple. I know that not every couple is able to do that, and we were just really lucky that it kind of solidified our relationship even further. And yeah, we were just really lucky.
Indeed, you were very lucky, and for that, I'm so happy for you. And again, I cannot thank you enough for being so open about these things that can be like taboos. I don't know if you say the same in English, but or in Spanish it's taboo. So it's really, really hardcore. We don't want to talk about those things. And lastly, just to say goodbye, I would love for you to give like one or two like tips for moms out there, and you know, to break through the barrier of people saying, no, I don't need support, I'm gonna be totally fine, I have my aunts, my mom, my grandma. What is the difference of hiring a professional doula?
Well, often when you hire a postpartum doula, they have a lot of evidence-based information and knowledge that they bring with them, but also it's often hard to ask for help from family and friends. It's a lot easier, just from a comfort level, I find, to ask for help from somebody who's outside of your social circle, who's somebody that you intentionally bring into your home. And there doesn't feel as much of an obligation, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for, as opposed to when you're having to rely on your family and friends. A little bit of guilt that creeps in sometimes, right? And we need a lot of help in those early days, and it's okay to ask for that help too. I want to make that really clear to anybody listening, that it's so okay to ask for help if you need it.
I cannot thank you enough, Ashley, for being here. For me, it's very special, this episode, because we are breaking the barrier also about, you know, the language. And I hope that the message gets there, that, you know, childbirth can be something unexpected, even though we want it to be everything as we planned. And you sharing your experience today, I know it's gonna make the difference. I wish you the best, and I hope we keep having a great conversation through social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
And I want to thank you that every week you wait a Ser Mamá episode. I'm so excited about the new moms that are, you know, watching this episode for the first time. And if you have any questions or tips or anything you want, just DM me. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.